Hey, this is no dream. Happy Friday the 13th out there, everybody. And I'm assuming if you're watching this video that you also treat Friday the 13th as if it's a holiday. Got some massive shadow on part of my face. And that's okay. All right, if you've seen my previous video, I talked about did the opening of the Scream Factory Friday the 13th box set. So go check that out. And in that one, I kind of talked about how I got into Friday the 13th and the the love that I eventually learned to appreciate Friday the 13th series. It's not scripted. I have notes that I'm going to be reading. If you're going to watch the box set for the first time, like I am doing, that is to say, I'm watching the box set for the first time. I have watched all these movies multiple times, have a couple of them on DVD, mostly actually just the two New Line, Jason X and Freddy versus Jason. All the others, I never got any of the Paramount ones. I did. And then Shout Factory gave us this lovely box set, and then I hadn't watched the other one yet, so I returned it to Walmart and got this excellent set. So far, really impressed. Super great. Let's talk about the original 1980 Friday the 13th. Okay, reading the cover. They were warned. ... They were doomed. ... And on Friday the 13th, nothing will save them. Bum, bum, bum. Your only clue to who the killer is the... That's not going to focus on me. It's going to focus on me, not on the... Check that out. Does that look like a sweater to you? Looks like a sweater to me. Spoiler warning if you haven't seen this movie. You should. You should definitely watch this movie. I think at this point, everybody knows who this, when they see this hockey mask, what that represents is, Jason and Friday the 13th. And so I think watching the first one is almost like a prequel, I guess you could say. If you go to about part 4, the final chapter, it really starts off in part 4, the final chapter. But I still recommend this movie. I do, and I'm reading the cover here. Terror and suspense abound in this 24-hour nightmare of blood. Camp Crystal Lake has been shuttered for over 20 years due to several vicious and unsolved murders. The camp's new owner and 7 young counselors are readying the property for reopening despite warnings of a death curse by the local residents. And then, really, it's just really kind of one. Maybe the motorcycle cop says something too. The kind old lady also might be like, oh, there's a death curse. Don't open up. People might be killed if you open back up. There might be murders. Which I don't know if she says. Maybe she said she tried to convince him not to. But that's closer to the end of the movie. Ooh, spoiler-filled review. The curse proves true on Friday the 13th, as one by one, each of the counselors is stalked by a violent killer. This film is widely acclaimed for its horrifying and creative murder sequences. Which, I guess it is. I guess it is. So that's the one cover. Right, and then it's comes with the theatrical and uncut version, which I'll get into later. And then there's the inside reversible cover. You'll wish it were only a nightmare. Friday the 13th. You would think that was a response to Nightmare on Elm Street, right? But at this point, this was 1980. Wes Craven was still playing with hills and houses. He hadn't gotten to Nightmares yet. I love Wes Craven. Not dissing on Wes. Not dissing the Crave. Yeah, and then the inside is basically the same. So, this side, it's got our lady there looking on. No, blurry. It's blurry, sir. Looking on with curiosity at the dead guy. Here she is. Lounging around on a canoe while this guy is being dragged out of the water. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, bum, bum. So, Friday the 13th, the original, 1980. Sean S. Cunningham directed, Victor Miller written, starring Betsy Palmer, Adrienne King, Janine Taylor, Robbie Morgan, Kevin Bacon, hey, everybody cut, Harry Crosby, Lori Bartram, and Mark Nelson as the Beeve. No, I'm just kidding. It's like a police squad joke there. Now, the way I watch this and the way I recommend it is actually don't start off with this. You almost could start off with there must be some kind of rights protection thing on here. No? It's just as soon as it goes like that, 5 degrees off, I must have some kind of setting on my recording that makes everything blurry around me. Isn't that special? It's like, dude, it's on my shirt. I gotta hold it here. Because I love it. It's my favorite Friday the 13th movie. Part 1. That's what I'm going to refer to it from now on as Friday the 13th Part 1. I would say don't watch Part 1 first. Go ahead and watch one of the later ones. 4, 5, 6, 7. If you want Jason Voorhees at his pinnacle, that's where you need to go. That section of movies. That's the pinnacle. I probably talked about this before. You didn't go watch that video. But I think there's enough knowledge about the Friday the 13th movies about Jason Voorhees, that if you watch this movie, for me, well, let me just talk about the movie, I guess. All right. But, my recommendation is don't watch it first. Get your fill of the bloody Jason Voorhees action and then go back. Because one of the things that I really like about this movie is that you're expecting to see that. And it's not there yet. So you're kind of like, oh, interesting. Or just watch it on itself as its own movie. Don't care about what comes later and becomes the icon. Just watch it for being a fun early 80s horror movie. But I could understand if you watch it and you'd be all like, "What? Where the heck's? Where's the hockey mask? Where's the machete? Oh, there is a machete." But it's like, this isn't what I signed on for. A Friday the 13th movie has undead Jason running around chopping horny teenagers with a machete. And this movie doesn't lead up to that. So that's it. That's the end of the review. Bye-bye. No, that's not. Hold on. So that's how I feel about it. I'm just checking my notes, man. I'm just checking my notes on Friday the 13th. I watched both the theatrical and the uncut version. I'll just go ahead and say that now. And it's like, what was the difference between the two? Like 12 seconds, I think the runtime is on it. And I think all it is really more I've already said the spoiler warning, so I don't need to say it every time I'm going to say, hey, this person dies, even though I'm going to start off telling you that this person. There's more of a. I'll get to it when I get to it, I guess. I don't know why I don't want to say it now. It's so silly. Uh, Anybody who's watching this has probably watched this a couple of times. I'm going to assume that. But, maybe you're like, this is the first time I'm hearing about it. I don't actually want to watch these movies. I'd rather watch some bearded, bald, fat guy talk about Friday the 13th than actually watch the movie. Which is cool. Thanks. I appreciate it. Okay, so last time I watched Friday the 13th was actually a re-release, I think, in the theater. And I found it to be slow and boring, and we made fun of it while we were watching it. I was with a couple other guys. We were college age at the time. I don't think we were drunk, but it's possible. But we just kind of made fun of it, annoyed people in the theaters. Maybe I told that story. I don't remember. But anyway, yeah, that was around 2000. I know they complained about us at least once, but we never got kicked out. Finally, I think there was a couple people there who were like, this is a serious horror movie and you're ruining it for me. And if there was somebody there that night in probably 2000, maybe got to be 99, 2000 range, somewhere around there. If you were in Santa Fe at the Grand Illusion watching Friday the 13th on Friday the 13th, and there were a bunch of jackasses making kind of stupid comments the whole time and ruining your super scary enjoyment, or you had like, oh, this is a really scary movie and I'm showing it to my friend or girlfriend the very first time and she's just going to get scared about it. And, we got the peanut gallery in the back making loud comments and lightening the mood of the whole thing. I'm going to go ahead and apologize to you. I'm not going to apologize for you. I'm going to apologize to you. Because I can understand that. I personally hate talking in the movie theaters. But sometimes when you watch a movie like 600 times, you need a little something to spruce it up. And that night I found it slow. It was just a lot of panning shots of people walking. And I remember a story one of my friends was telling me about making a horror movie, and it had to be a certain runtime in order for it to be theatrically released. And they added a shot of a person walking towards a lamppost and then walking back. So they had that extra minute and a half to get to 88 minutes or whatever it was. And at the time when I watched it, that's what I felt. Now, I don't think I have seen, because I didn't get this on DVD. I didn't get it on VHS. I would, rent it from the video store. Maybe you've heard of those kids. No streaming at the time. I didn't have internet for a really long time. It was tough, kids. It was really tough. I haven't seen it probably in 20 years. It would have been close. I got married, had kids. It just hasn't been, the love of Friday the 13th has yet to flow into that part of my life. Hopefully, let's see, my son's 12, so 4 or 5 years I'll be watching all these over again with him. He doesn't like horror movies, though. I make him watch those Universal Horror Classic movies. Maybe started a little too young. He got a little too scared about them. So most horror things, he's like, nope. So I'm sure he would be a perfect character in that new horror movie. Nope. Because that's him. Nope. So, this time, watching it. First time, 20 years, been a long time. By myself in the basement, watching it on the Blu-ray. I thought it trucked along. I thought it was like bam, bam, bam. It's a one thing after another. I didn't find it slow or boring. The long pans were added to the tension instead of like, okay, I'm watching people walking. It was part of it. I wasn't watching people walking. Somebody was watching people walking. And if there was a door behind him, you knew that someone could jump through that door any second now. That door. Any second. Okay, so starts off 1958. And that couple, they actually look like they could be teenagers. I think they do. The 1980s counselors, they do not. It is, yeah, it's 1980, but we've already moved on to we're going to get 20 to 30 something actors to play campers or whatever, counselors. And I'm not 100% sure on ages on them because I don't remember. It's been a while since I watched this. I know in number 2 that some of them were like 18. 17, 18, and I'm really stressed out about this. Apparently, I've got going. I don't know if that's coming out on the thing for you guys, but I feel like I'm going full scanners. Enjoy the movie. I'll explode your head if you don't. Anyway, so they start off around the campfire. They're singing "Kumbaya." And who knew Kumbaya could be so sexy? Because these two are like giving each other the eye, and they're like, okay, let's go. Let's go out to the boathouse and do it. Now, first watching, I thought that these were the counselors that were off fooling around when Jason drowned. Backstory is Jason drowned a couple years ago. I don't know if they say how many years before. Maybe 1957. So the summer before Jason drowned. And I don't know, would they hire those kids back? Those kids do it. It would kind of make sense if it was the same kids, but it also, with the psychology of the killer, it doesn't matter if it's the same kids or not. But that's what I thought when they were first falling around. And they could be. I mean, yeah. But it could just be that the killer was triggered by seeing them go off and be like, oh, I know what they're doing. They're going to go fool around instead of watch the kids, even though it is nighttime and everybody's inside by the fireplace. And or maybe it's around a campfire. I can't remember at this point. And so nobody's going to go swimming and get killed. I don't know how anyone's going to die. But it's just a trigger. That's what we say. And this 2020 landscape, it's a trigger. And so killer makes short work of those two, stabs one right in the gut, first kill, and then goes in after the girl and got the whole like POV thing, and she's like falling all over like everything she could possibly find to fall over. She hit it. Good acting. Good job. And then the classic fade to white, and then the zoom slam into the screen and breaks it. Doesn't it? I think it does. I'm an expert. No, I just love these movies. Why do I love seeing fake teenagers get killed? Because fake teenagers deserve to be killed. I said it, and I'm not taking it back until episode 4. And then those guys, or part 4, those guys didn't need it. They didn't deserve it. They're just having a good time. Anyway, I'm going off the rails here. This is going to be a nice long episode. All right, so bam, credit sequence shows everybody is on there. One of those, 1980s, so they slap it all in the front. None of this jumping to just the title. Get on with the movie. Show stuff during the credits. Just show everybody. People are here. Just slam their names on the thing. We're a band, and we're in 1980. And it says Friday, June 13th, Jason's birthday. Okay, so let's see. He died in 57 at the age of 11. So he is 34 now. Yeah. And it starts off really nice with. Really nice. Starts off with, a female camper hiking along and stops at a convenience store. I don't know if she uses a payphone too or not. I don't really remember. I didn't write down what happened in this movie. Yeah. So everyone shows up. One by one, they show up. No, the one girl shows up. Our starting person. So you think, hey, maybe this is who this movie is about, right? They then cut to Ned, I think? Or is it the three of them in the truck? I don't think they pick up Ned and then go on. I think they're all three together in the truck. And they're cruising along in the pickup truck, heading to camp. And the music there is really just kicking it. I mean, it's kind of like rockabilly or whatever, but it's just like. So when I think of Friday the 13th, I think of, the psycho type music. And this was just really like. And so I just thought that was hilarious. And then I forgot what I was saying. So I just thought that was hilarious. And then we go and we meet all of the camp counselors. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. It was too long since I watched this movie. You're not here for the full blowdown anyway, right? So they introduces all the campers, everybody's different styles. Introduces our heroine, the final girl, as the girlfriend or ex-girlfriend of the main camp guy. Some notes I made, man. This is great. Okay, so I'm not going to do a blow by blow, I guess, of this movie because I watched this one. I should have recorded the video after I watched the movie instead of taking notes and then watching part two because it's just kind of mixed in my head. But everyone gets there. A police cop shows up, says, "Hey, you kids, you got to be careful. This is Camp Blood. Blah blah blah." Crazy Ralph. I hope it's Crazy Ralph. Yeah, Crazy Ralph. He's the best. And of course, one of the actors is Kevin Bacon, and it's kind of fun to see Kevin Bacon. I know he's done some stuff beforehand. He'd been in at least Animal House and some TV stuff before this. But it's just like looking at him, and he's just not quite Kevin Bacon yet, if that makes any sense. So he's there, he's doing his thing, but he's just still kind of raw clay. It's getting formed to what Kevin Bacon is. We'll get to Footloose, and I guess for me the pinnacle of Bacon is Tremors. Like that's pinnacle key Bacon, and everything else like matches up to that. Whether it's better movie or worse movie or better performance or worse performance, everything that's my gold standard for Bacon is Tremors. And this is not. You kind of see why he becomes the star he becomes. It's just that kind of there. He's so young. They're all so young and so innocent. Then there's two things that Friday the 13th one did right, and that is the character of Ned, who is the annoying comical relief character who is always goofing off and doing things, and everybody's all like, "Oh, Ned, blah 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 blah," because once you set that up, whenever like something creepy is going on and something that's kind of weird's happening, everyone's automatic response is, "Oh, Ned, Quit, knock it off, Ned. Ned, is that you? Ned, don't try and do stuff. So it's just an ingenious plot device for the characters not to be smart or not to know that they're in a horror movie until they find out that they're in a horror movie, you know? So they're like, oh, everything's fine. Oh, it's just, you know, stupid Ned doing his stupid thing again. Or, sorry, silly Ned doing his silly stuff again. And so I think every horror movie should have a Ned in it. And every horror movie should have a Crazy Ralph in it. Crazy Ralph is one of my favorite characters. And he said, oh, you're all doomed to go to Camp Blood. You'll all die out there. He's got the, I can't do it because I got the neck beard and the fat, but, you know, he's got the tendons all sticking out and stuff. There's so many guys like that growing up. Weren't crazy, but had, you know, lack of skin. And then you could see the tendons and then they just, you know. So maybe there's a bit of nostalgia there for me. Maybe there's a bit of nostalgia for all the Friday the 13th movies for me, since all of them except for, I guess I was in college when Jason X came out. Jason X was the first one I watched in the theater. So I watched them all at the end of the 90s. Because I'm pretty sure I was making fun of Friday the 13th Part 8. And then I actually sat down and watched the series like a year later or whatever. Because I wasn't a big horror fan. I was a big sci-fi fan. And then through Carpenter, I got in more into horror, the Halloween series. And then I started watching all of them. And Friday is the Friday series is obviously a major part of the horror franchise community. Anyway, you cut it. You hate it. You love it. Any way you slice it, Jason Voorhees is one of the top, is on the Mount Rushmore of modern horror movie monsters. Or the slasher Mount Rushmore. Mount Slasher. Slashmore. Mount Slashmore. Anyway, I have this note, Kevin Butt. So maybe they show his butt in the sex scene. The steamy, steamy sex scene. So the kills in this are kind of interesting, because the first kill is Ned. He gets led into a cabin that's a little further away, and they're like, Ned, is that you? No, they're not. Is that you? So like, hey, can I help you? Everything okay in there? You know, he's being a counselor. Only the thing they need help with is they need my knife to have more blood on it, please. Like, no. You don't get to see it. He just goes in there and he disappears. So I guess with that added effect, you're like, oh, could be Ned goofing around, I guess. You never really know. We just assume that he's been brutally murdered. And then we get our one sex scene in the movie. Let's see. Did I do a... Yeah, one. I have 1.5 sex scenes, so I'm not remembering this. There's some nudity. There's one naked girl, not gratuitous though. Non-gratuitous is what I put. But apparently you get to see some Kevin Butt. So nothing like Wild Things, but you still get a little Kevin Butt in there. And then the rest of the campers get picked off one by one. There's one late girl who goes out to the archery range because the lights are on. It's like pouring rain. And I think that's her. I mean, you kind of have to wonder about the smartness of the one girl for not putting her clothes back on before running out in the rain. Like if she was just going from her cabin to the whatever cabin of the guy she was going to hook up with, that's one thing. But I think she then goes off to check out lights off at the archery range and then ends up with a couple of arrows. A couple of arrows in her, I believe. Just trying to remember, man. I'm just trying to remember. Kevin, unfortunately, gets it. His is the best kill of the movie, and that is where the uncut version differs from the theatrical version. Is 12 extra seconds of the arrow or harpoon, whatever it is, that comes up through Kevin Bacon's neck. There's 12 seconds extra of that. And it's one of those things where it's like, oh, and, yeah, because Ned's dead body is like above them I think, because it's a bunk bed system, and he's like wrapped up in a sleeping bag, and he's wrapped up there, and he's kind of like bleeding, kind of starts bleeding on Kevin. He's all like, huh? And next thing you know, hand on the head, thing through the thing, no, spear through the neck. So you gotta wonder, the killer was underneath that bed the whole time they were having sex. That's my question mark. That because like I don't know how they got in there. I mean, the girl leaves to go clean herself up, and he's sitting there smoking a joint, I think. Uh, and so, unless they did like a little stealth crawl over, maybe one of those army rolls under the bed to then jab him. Otherwise, they've been basically hid the body. Couple was coming in the door. They said, "Oh crap, where am I going to go?" Underneath the bed, and then of course, and they jump on the bed and start doing it. So Keller was probably like, "How can I get my arrow to go up?" And they were getting bonked on the head by the mattress the whole time. Why wasn't that the uncut version? Got out of it, and then so everybody gets killed. The lead guy goes off to, I don't know, get supplies, get drunk. I can't remember what that guy does, and he comes back and runs into somebody, and almost literally runs into them because he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" Oh. So I guess the person could have gone like that, but it's almost like person was standing there with a knife and he walked right into them. That's kind of the impression I get. So Alice, right? I'm gonna get in trouble for not knowing who is the main Alice. Yeah, Adrienne King, Alice. Sorry, guys. And there's I got 8 kills for the movie. I don't know if that's counting the killer though. Honestly, I don't know. Shoot. Hey, comment down below. 8 kills. Is that all the camp counselors, or is that the killer also? So Alice figures out that something's going on, and then all of a sudden, she, I think she starts finding dead bodies pinned up and stuff. It's all melting into my brain now. They're all melting into one big movie because the first, it's part 8, part 1 through part 8, if you want to do it that way. So it's all just really one huge mega movie that should really just be watched all in one sitting. And I bet there's a lot of people doing that. If you are one of those people and you decided to check this video out on Friday the 13th because you're waiting for people to show up, thanks. If you're watching this video not on Friday the 13th, thanks. She's freaking out. She's finding out people are dead. There's blood. The shower scene is kind of funny. No, it's not kind of funny. That the shower scene kill is pretty good. Like the back says, it's got great kills. And so Alice is freaking out. She's running around. I've said this about 5 times. But then she runs into this kindly old lady who we haven't seen before. Right? I watched both cuts and the audio commentaries. You'd think I would remember, but she just shows up and she's all like, "Oh, I told what's his name, Christy, not to open this place up, that the murder would just start again if he did," or something like that. Or she's like, "I kept trying to make it so he wouldn't open up. I poisoned the water one year," or whatever it was that happened in between when she murdered people. And that woman is Mrs. Voorhees. It was her son Jason who drowned in the lake while the kids were off having sex. So it was her that is murdering people. She is the one wearing the frumpy sweater that you can see the outlines of there. Not Jason Voorhees. And at my mind, and when I watched it at that time, I was all like, what? A Friday the 13th movie where Jason is not the killer? Mind blown. And I gotta be honest with you, I have a soft spot for horror movie series where they have at least one where the main iconic killer isn't actually the killer in the movie. It just fascinates me. I got a soft spot for it. I'm not going to say which other ones do that right now. I'll cover those series eventually, probably, possibly. Who knows? We'll see how well these horror movie series go. None of them are tied into a day of the year. Like, I mean, I say none of them. Not a lot of them are tied into a day of the year series. At least the ones you want to cover. There's a couple series tied into days of the year, but a ton of just one-offs tied into a day of the year. I digress. So it's Mrs. Voorhees is the killer, and I gotta say, Mrs. Voorhees missed her calling because she is great at cleaning. She could be a cleaner for the mafia or whatever. Like Point of No Return or the John Wick movies where they go in and clean up the bodies and move everything so there's like not a trace of murder behind. But if she didn't have her desire to then pin them up someplace for the last person to then run around and bump into. If she dropped that whole theatrical part of it, I think she'd do a lot better. Okay, so there's a lot of things about 80s horror slasher movies about them being morality tales. So, like, Alice is the only one not trying to get laid or whatever, even though it implies that she has had sex with the camp, with the Christie. They don't do it they're on the outs at the time, I believe. They sure act like they are. They don't act like they're lovey-dovey all over each other like some people, but it is what it is. So some people say that. But if you look at it, Alice is the only one who knows what they are up against. Everybody else was kind of like taken by surprise or startlement. She's the only one who's like, oh, wait, this lady is crazy. I think she's all nice. Oh, she's such a nice old lady. Let me go talk to her about everybody being dead. I'm sorry, are you channeling your dead 11-year-old son? Oh, you're now speaking and having a conversation with your dead 11-year-old son, and you're taking on his persona. And really, you got to kind of wonder about what Jason was like as a kid, because her take on him is murderously violent. Like, when she channels Jason, he's like, kill her, mommy. And it's not like, hey, we got the guys who let me drown. Let's let these kids live. They'll learn their lesson. It'll be okay. No, kill her. Get her. Which is, could just be the psychosis of Mrs. Voorhees. I feel like I'm projecting because I know how far down the what happens throughout the rest of the series. So do you. There's a reason there's a big box set. There's a reason there's 8 movies, and that Jason is the main guy. So he might have been always a sicko. He might not have been, but he might have been. Just an idea. So that's where I'm kind of like the morality falls a little bit on this one, because she's the only one who knows that Jason is actually... or not Jason, I'm sorry. I was just talking about how cool it wasn't Jason, and then I called Miss Voorhees Jason. Mama Jason. Mama Jace goes after him. goes after her, and this time she's like, everyone else, she's like, it's like, oh, hey, how's it going? Or not even, saying, hey, how's it going? It's just, she is having fun with Alice. She's like, you're the last one. If I'm lucky, they're never going to open this place up again. So, I mean, that's the whole point of this, isn't it? Really? She's slapping Allison around. She's torturing her, playing a little cat and mouse with her, and then just kind of stabs her in the leg or whatever. It doesn't go for the kill, and she's got a great swing on her. Big bloodlust. Then the chases her down, flipping back and forth from mama to son. Love you, Jason. Yeah. One other part I love, I wrote it down, the Abbott and Costello / Scooby-Doo blocking of the door, which doesn't look like it would block the door at all, and then I think it opens up the other way. And it's very elaborate, this whole scene, and it's just, doesn't do anything to help. And then she goes to the kitchen. She hides herself behind a shelf, realizes she's not playing hide and seek. This isn't some kid's game, where it's like, you can't see me because I'm behind this cupboard. It's like, oh no. And then goes off and locks herself in the pantry, where you get that great keyhole shot. And then it's machete versus frying pan. Frying pan wins. It's machete versus frying pan. Frying pan wins. I 100% agree with that. She gives her the slip, kind of the easiest way possible. And then they end up down by the lake on the beach. And you've got the great sequence where she picks up the machete, or where Alice has the machete. And this is where he's just running at her. Alice takes it. If it was me, I'd be like, oh shoot, backing up. Nope, full tilt, chopped head, roll off, and it's like, okay, that person's dead. I'm gonna go ahead and get on this boat and roll out to the middle of the lake because I feel safe out in the middle of the lake in case somebody comes. Somebody else is out there killing, maybe. It's one of those, it's movie logic. Doesn't really make sense. I mean, you're panicked, all your friends, or at least the people that you've known for a day, because I believe it only happens in one day. It might be 2. I could get that confused with other ones. But it says Friday the 13th. They get there and then it's nighttime. I think it all happens in one 24-hour period. As it says on the back, terror and suspense abound in this 24-hour nightmare of blood. So that must mean the last shot when she's out on the boat in the lake, doing, well, that was an inside cover one, so I can, the boat of the lake, as you put her hand in the water, and the cops pull up, and it's like, look at those beautiful red leaves reflected on the lake, the beautiful autumn scenery. It's like it's a Bob Ross painting, almost. And then you're like, wait a minute, isn't this supposed to be? Weren't they training to get ready for a summer camp? How long has she been out on that boat, man? The fact of the matter was they were actually pushing it in the shooting schedule, and leaves were turning on them. They didn't shoot in April or May, June. I don't know when the camp counselors get ready for camp. I never went to camp myself, so maybe I don't find these movies as scary because I was never like, hey, let's go out into the wilderness lake and live in cabins and sing campfire songs and stuff like that. I was never really into that. Oh, so no. So cops show up. Not sure why cops show up, but cops show up, and she's in the boat, and she's all like, "Oh, cops are here to save me," kind of thing. And then jump scare. Jason makes an appearance as an 11-year-old boy, jumps up, grabs her pulls her back into the lake. Very iconic shot. I think it's been shown lots of times. So even if you haven't seen the movie, it's probably been spoiled for you. And then I guess that wasn't the last shot of the movie. Because I forgot about the Psycho ending, where the movie's basically done, but then they go to a hospital and talk about things. And she's there on talking to the doctor and the sheriff, and she's being frantic, something. So they give her a shot of Valium, yeah, Valium. I don't know why it doesn't feel like I'm saying that word correctly, but Valium. Oh, it's time to take a pill. I'm not at my pill taking place. I'll tell you that right now. Basically, where they're talking about everything, and she's all like, "Oh, sorry." So she's getting the shot in the butt, and it's kind of funny because the doctor like glares at the sheriff, and he's just kind of like, "Don't be trying to get a peek at this lady's bare bottom. Look at this bare buttocks." As I inject her with the Valium, which, I don't know why she doesn't have an IV already hooked up. She's had exposure from being out on that lake for 4 months. The next day, it was just 24 hours. It was like, oh, the girl from the first part, she didn't even make it to the camp. She gets picked up by Mrs. Voorhees. You don't know it at the time, but she gets picked up by Mrs. Voorhees, and she gets chased down and murdered in the woods. I guess she's a Janet Leigh / Drew Barrymore character of the Friday the 13th series. The biggest loophole in the movie, or where wouldn't have a movie, none of this would have happened. All of those teenage campers would have been alive still if she had just killed Christy at the beginning. It's like, oh, I'm opening up my camp. Oh, are you now? Machete. And then been like, oh, this guy got randomly macheted. Let's try and find this killer. And there wouldn't have been a whole 12 movies made, because this would have been a couple people killed. End of movie. But I think she wanted to go on a huge killing spree, because she could have just killed Christy. But she waited for all of the campers the counselors to get there, and then started taking them out one by one. I mean, I'm sure, I would doubt any of those guys would have been like, if Christy had been murdered earlier that morning before they got there, I doubt they would have been like, oh yeah, let's go ahead and keep the camp going for Christy. Gosh, I hope that's that guy's name. Kick-ass banjo song when Kevin appears. I already said that. I thought the best kill was Kevin. Arrow through the neck. 1.5 sex scenes, Don Grutis. Special feature. We got commentary from Peter Brake, author of Crystal Lake Memories, writer Victor Miller, director / producer Sean S. Cunningham, Alice, Adrienne King, Mrs. Voorhees, Betsy Palmer, who wins the commentary. She definitely has the best stories throughout it, and she's just very lovely in all the extra features. She kind of does a good job. Editor was Bill something. I didn't write his last name. They're not going to do editors on the back of the box. Come on. Music by Harry Manfredini. He is also on there talking about stuff, and that he does a good job too. But let's see, highlights of that commentary are, they talk about it being in the fall and cold, evident in that almost final shot of the lake, and then the backstory with Alice and Christy. And apparently they had sex. I honestly thought he was just a creep, and she wanted to get away from him. Was it a failed relationship that they had gotten together, and then she's kind of like, I don't know. It was just kind of, I thought he was bordering sexual harassment claims there. There was a lot of time spent defending the sexual, that's not spelled right, sexual promiscuity. I think it's what the word I'm looking for. Promiscuity. Doesn't sound right. Is that a word, promiscuity? I keep saying it. Keeps getting weirder and weirder. Promiscuity. Betsy Palmer gave herself a great backstory. Getting knocked up and the dad leaving, and she has to find a job someplace, so she becomes a cook at a camp where she has her boy Jason. And that's it. That's it. Is that all I wrote down was about the commentaries? There's more than that. Come on. There's more than that. Of course, these guys got a new 4K scan of the original camera negative. It's very pristine, very nice looking. It's got both cuts. I said that already. Audio commentaries. Fresh cuts, new tales from Friday the 13th, which I think are the... Is that... Hold on. Gotta do a check. The Man Behind the Legacy, Sean S. Cunningham, theatrical trailer, TV spot, radio spots, still gallery. And so I think the thing about the theatrical cut is that they make you think 13 people die. And what they really do is they show someone go, and then it goes, 1, like, oh no, and then 2 kind of thing. So some of them are like jump scares instead of actual deaths. Like I said, it's been a little too long, but I believe that's correct. I don't know if it's that. And then they got their series that was made for the 2000 DVD release that Paramount did, I believe. Lost Tales from Camp Blood, Part 1, which was not very good by my book, sorry to say, because it's just kind of, you could tell it was a set. Yeah, it was like a stage play almost to me. I didn't like it, but it's there for you to watch and enjoy if you get this DVD. All right, happy Friday the 13th, everybody. If you were watching it on May 13th, 2022, then hopefully I drop another one. I've got both set up. I've got 1 and 2 set up and ready to go. I'm not going to do a rank of Friday the 13th movies yet. Maybe when I get closer to the end. But I rank this one high. I'll give it 5 machetes out of a possible 5. 4 machetes out of a possible 4? That doesn't make any sense. That's the same thing. 3 machetes? Yeah, we'll just do 5. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12. I'll give it 10 machetes out of a possible 12. Original Friday the 13th. So, only because some of the kills you don't get to see. Jason is barely in it. Sorry, Mama Voorhees. She's barely, you don't see her until the end. It's all her POV. For what else can there be said about Friday the 13th? Part 1, other than it's a great start. And it's interesting to see where it goes from here. And you guys have a happy Friday the 13th. And or whatever day it might be, whenever you're watching this video. I don't know why you would watch it on any other day besides that. Just because you love Friday the 13th movies. You want to watch somebody talk about them. I know I do. I often listen to podcasts just because they're talking about Jason movies. Even though Jason isn't the killer in this movie, really, he's definitely the driving force behind the violence of this movie. That is the reason that Mama Jace is doing her thing. So where do they leave the movie? They leave the movie with, well, what about the boy? And they're like, there's no boy. So then he's still out there. Because she's not convinced that she's just some delusional nightmare that she had half dazed out there in the lake. She believes that she was really grabbed by this boy. And so it's like, he's out there. And he is, because he'll be back in part 2. And hopefully you'll be back for part 2 too. Which is part 4. No, that's just silly. Okay. Bye, everybody.